This video is made possible by the EA Creator Network and was captured on a work-in-progress build. What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down what I believe could be the meta defensive genius archetype coach build in Madden 26 franchise mode. This is my second breakdown. We will also have Development Wizard coming very soon to your sub boxes, but we did Offensive Guru the other day, and in that video, because it was the first breakdown, I elaborated a little bit more on the brand new coach customization options coming in Madden 26. We kind of treated that more like a tutorial showcasing the different abilities, the new ability mechanisms, how everything works, play sheets, etc., etc. But now that we've kind of got that out of the way, go check that video out. In Defensive Genius and Development Wizard, we just don't need as much backup information as we break down this video. And then we're going to get straight to the point, and we're going to build the best defensive genius coach. And I think there's two ways of looking at this. When you are deciding this, there's plenty of people out there that when you play franchise mode, you want to play defense. You get more enjoyment controlling the defensive side of the ball. And if that is you, you're going to like Defensive Genius. I also think there's an argument to be made that even though Offensive Guru, if you're someone that just wants to play offense, makes a lot of sense. If you think you're good enough offensively and you struggle defensively, trust me, I am someone that will very much be a part of that camp. Having a defensive genius head coach that are going to give you buffs on the defensive side of the ball and make playing defense easier, that can be a big advantage and offer a lot of value to someone that wants to play offense, loves playing offense, is much more comfortable on the offensive side of the ball than the defensive side of the ball, and you select this coach to give you those boosts on defense to make it a little bit easier for you. So we're going to start here with a level 1 defensive genius head coach. In Madden 26, coaches will level up all the way to level 50. For the sake of this video, I'm going to get our coach to level 50 and then show you guys the build. So I'll give you guys an idea of how to spend your points along the way as you level up your coach throughout your franchise mode. There's a couple things that I can't really help you out with because there's a lot of variance between what I'm showing and what you may see in your franchise mode, and that is on the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and the trainer. So I can kind of give you a rule of thumb because you are also able to upgrade these guys as you go through the same way that you were able to with the previous coaching staffs in Madden 25 and Madden 24, etc., etc. I would say rule of thumb, because we're a defensive-focused head coach, you're probably not going to have to spend a lot of points in defensive coordinator, even though those buffs will stack. What you do need to pay attention to is, as a defensive-minded coach, you are not going to have. These abilities are always going to be locked. These are some of the abilities that we would have unlocked and leveled up with our Offensive Guru video. Go check that out again, cheap plug. But the only way that you're going to be able to get these offensive boosts to your team with a defensive-minded head coach is through your offensive coordinator. Now, we have a really low-level offensive coordinator here. You may be in your franchise mode and your coordinator is level 20. I would say, rule of thumb, budget your points accordingly. You know what I'm saying? We are going to obviously kind of show an all-in defensive genius type build here, but there's obviously a lot of value in using your offensive coordinator and getting those boosts. But also, there's risk-reward, because if you go in on your offensive coordinator, you have a good year, and he gets poached for a head coaching job, well, you're going to feel a little bit slight that you invested so heavily in him when you could have spent those points elsewhere. Also, I have, from my experience, have yet to see the trainer get poached, so I kind of think he's just there the whole time. I think there's a lot of value in upgrading your trainer, but it is going to be very much based off of the settings that you have in your franchise mode. I think there's going to be some people that aren't a huge fan of the wear and tear system from college football, and you have an option in your settings to turn that off. And if you do turn that off, some of these really, really nice wear and tear upgrades are not going to be valuable to you at all. Some people may go off the default injury sliders. I know me personally, I've adjusted them in years past, and if you make injuries a little bit more forgiving, then some of these injury recovery upgrades that are very, very powerful, if say you're playing on default injury sliders, they're just not going to be as important to you if you've kind of adjusted that. So that's going to be a little bit different strokes for different folks based off of your franchise mode settings. But I would say rule of thumb, generally speaking, with a defensive-minded head coach build, your points, OC, and trainer, it's going to be worthwhile. Same thing of I can't really help you out is applied to playstyles. It is going to come down to your personal preference and what kind of boost you're looking at, and maybe which types of boosts may help your roster and where you're lacking and you'd actually need those boosts, like you have a bad secondary. Maybe you'd want to look at some of these upgrades that boost your DBs up. You have unlocks all the way down to 32, where you unlock the 3-3-5 play sheet, but it's all going to come down to personal preference and or based off of your given roster. So I can't necessarily tell you which one of these upgrades to buy, but don't forget about them. Don't just solely want to upgrade all of your abilities for your coach and not save any points to, work on your offensive coordinator or to work on a couple different play sheets that can benefit your team. Keep it in mind because they are relatively expensive as you upgrade it if you want to use your points and not achieve them from in-game goals. That'll be the last thing before we get into the build. I did say my first breakdown of Offensive Guru was a little more tutorial-y because we're going through everything for the first time, but just in case this is your first video, how you level up your coach abilities, there are two ways. One is you could just do it the give it to me now way, which is spending your stat points. We have 200 available because of the pre-order bonus, and if we wanted to upgrade Hitimus Stickamus, we could either, from playing in-game, force 2 forced fumbles in one game, and that will give us an upgrade from Tier 1 to Tier 2, and it'll progress through that, or you could straight up just buy the upgrade with 15 credits right here, and that is really nice. Also, if you pay attention to the progression goals, you can have downgrades. If we have a game where we force no turnovers in a game 3 times, we will fall from Tier 2 down to Tier 1. And if that happens, it could happen. Everyone goes through sumps in your franchise mode. Well, that does happen. You can use and rely on your staff points to buy it right back and get your upgrades. So I like the fact that you have an option. I like the fact that you have a choice. I like the fact that we're going to, for this scenario, get to level 50 and have a war chest of staff points to upgrade. But the reality is, playing through the games, yes, you're going to want to try and achieve as many goals as you possibly can through a season, through your in-game goals to build up your budget. But it's going to be tough to achieve them. It's going to be tough to earn all these points as you play through the game. So the fact that you can have 2 ways, through player performance on field will get you upgrades, and as you earn staff credits, you'll be able to use that on upgrades. I think the more ways you can improve your team, the better. It took 3 undefeated seasons, 2 Super Bowls to get max level 50, which I'll just say by comparison took us an extra full 17-0 season to get to level 50 on the Offensive Guru coach build. Interesting. Shout out the Rams. So after reaching level 50, we have all of the coach abilities unlocked, as well as player development, as well as personnel and scouting. Here's how to unlock it. Here's how to build the best defensive genius coach in Madden 26. The first 2 abilities that I think for every coach build you need to prioritize as you unlock it. One is Head of Class, which will just increase the XP earn rate for all of your coaching staff all the way down to Tier 4, which will give you a 3 times coach XP boost. Very, very valuable, especially with a potential revolving door of offensive and defensive coordinators as your team plays better. I also think After School Tutor, which was my top priority in my coach builds in the last couple Maddens. This is where it gives you up to 3 additional focus players. So those are the 3 players during the weekly training that gets extra XP. And then now in Tier 4, you get a 10% increase to training XP for all players. That is very, very valuable for player development. 100% prioritize getting Tier 4 on both of those. So for the defensive genius build, we actually have 14 abilities unlocked all the way down to Tier 14, which is more than what we had in Offensive Guru. What does that say about the value of the abilities? I'll let you decide. But one thing I wasn't 100% sure if I touched on in the Offensive Guru video is, let's look at Fool Me Never. Right now I have only base Tier 1 unlocked, and as you can see in the progression goals, if I don't want to spend my staff points, if I allow under 350 total yards in a game 2 times, it will automatically upgrade to Tier number 2. And as we go through the season, you have that downgrade, where if we get to number 2, and then, however, the next 2 games we allow 3 passing touchdowns in a game twice, it will regress us down to Tier number 1. Well, what happens to this whole ability upgrade system when you unlock Tier number 4? Where do you go up? Can you continue to develop and gain upgrades for your abilities? And you can with Mastery. So we're going to look at behind the curtains here. We have Mastery 1. Which, if we allow 0 rush touchdowns in a game 2 times with the mastery goals, each tier has its own mastery goal. When a mastery goal is completed, that tier becomes permanent. So if you finish the Tier 1 mastery goal, Tier 1 of that ability is yours forever and cannot be lost via the downgrade mechanism. If you complete all the way up to the Tier 4 mastery goal, the ability becomes fully mastered and can never be regressed or removed. So that is pretty sick and pretty nice for end game content. So of the 14 abilities, I think we're going to look at behind the curtains here. I generally just want to go for, I think ease of mind, like some of these, they're going to be very matchup dependent, what you're going to have in a given week. You're going to want this war chest of abilities at your disposal. But as you can see here with Behind the Curtain, you're going to want to get all the way down to Tier 4, which will give you TFL on early downs, reduces the O-line resistance meters for blocks, so you're going to have those guys replenished sooner than later, especially into the second half. You're going to be getting into that backfield. We have Bookend Busters all the way down. Tier 3 and Tier 4 in particular is going to give you a significant increase to power moves for your edge rushers, as well as finesse moves for your edge rushers. We have Edge Wizards, which... No, and I talked about this in the Offensive Guru video. The wording of significantly versus slightly, as you can see here in the discrepancy from Tier 1, Tier 2, where it's slightly increased, where Tier 3 and Tier 4 is significantly increased. We don't have a number or a percentage of what that is buffing. And I'm going to go under the assumption that it's going to be a generous buff, and it's not like Tier 1 of slightly increased power move is 5%, and Tier 3 of significantly increased power move is 15%. I like to think that maybe it's a bigger gap than that, to justify, the investment of your staff points to get those upgrades. I like the old classics here, where you look at Edge Wizards, and it tells you what you're getting. You're getting +4 tackle, +4 awareness, +4 power move, and +4 finesse move as you go throughout that tier. Very, very important. Same thing for Ground Guardians, where we clearly are getting a +4 attribute boost in block shed, tackle, play wreck, and pursuit. This one sounds cool. They actually brought it up in the deep dive. Hitimus Stickamus. Play style dependent. If you're someone that just doesn't find yourself laying a lot of hit stick, laying the lumber, maybe you don't want this ability. Or on the inverse, if you feel like, me personally, I can't remember I have not gotten in a pocket with hit sticking for the last couple Maddens. Maybe something like this would bring added value to you on the defense when you're hopping on the sticks, because it's going to give you a bigger boost and maybe a little bit more forgiving hit stick window. As you can see, Tier 1 increases the fatigue on the offensive players, but Tier 2, slightly larger hit stick timing window. Ooh. Tier 3, significantly larger hit stick timing window. Ooh. And then Tier 4 is going to significantly increase fumble odds for a successful hit stick. So there is, again, a little bit comes down to play style. Again, if you're not someone that likes to throw the hit stick, or it's something you're not comfortable with and you'd rather go with a safe tackle, you may not find the value in this. But if you're on the other side where you love using the hit stick and or you want to get better with utilizing the hit stick, there's going to be a lot of value in Hitimus Stickamus and getting it all the way to tier number 4. We also have Interior Havoc, which again, we get back into the slightly versus significantly wording, but Tier 3 and Tier 4 of significantly increasing power move and finesse move for your defensive tackles. Very nice. We're back to the clear +4 upgrades here for Island Kings, which I'm kind of power ranking here all of the defensive tiers. This one's near the top for me because you're getting +4 play rec, press, zone, and man. All +4 for your corners and safeties. There is a lot of value there. We have Mano a Mano, which is going to give you, again, this sounds like it could be very overpowered. Increased reaction to in-breaking routes in man coverage for corners. Outbreaking routes in man coverage for corners. Reduced chances of press losses and increased chances of pressed wins. So if you want to live on the edge, mano a mano, man defense, going to be huge. But also scheme dependent. If you're running a zone scheme, maybe you won't find as much benefit out of this one. Something like Mr. Dream, which we have all the way down to Tier 4, is going to be, regardless if you're running a man or a zone defense, you're going to get increased knockout chances. 10 yards or less, 20 yards downfield, 20 yards and beyond, and a Tier 4 increased interception chance for all defenders. Very, very powerful. And I think if we're just looking at a solo tier upgrade boost, Tier 4 Mr. Dream got to be right up there. The no-fly zone might be a little bit scheme-dependent, but it's going to help you if you're running zone coverage for corners when running corner 3, increase zone coverage for safeties while running a cover 3, increase break on the ball for corners when running a cover 3, and Tier 4 is an increased break on ball for safeties while running a cover 3. So that will be scheme-dependent, but I think across the board the value there is very obvious. We have passing paranoia, which is not as scheme-dependent, which is going to give you increased pressure effects on quarterbacks inside the pocket, outside the pocket, a reduced chance of broken sacks, and a Tier 4 upgrade of an increased chance at strip sack fumbles on sacks. That is across the board, regardless of scheme that you're running, very valuable. Pressure Posse is going to get back to giving us some base +4 upgrades to tackle, awareness, finesse move, and power move for defensive tackle. We have Trench Goblins, which is going to give us +4 pursuit, tackle, play rec, and block shed for our edges and defensive tackle. So in particular, in terms of value, you're getting, 4 starters getting a boost right there, which is very nice. Our last tier 4 is Sheddables, which gives us an increased success against double team run blocks, quick block shed moves are more successful, power block shed moves are more successful, and a tier 4 significant block shed success for all defensive linemen on the defensive line. You know, you can make an argument, some of these are niche. And if you had to kind of budget your points a little bit, if you are, say, not running a lot of zone coverage, maybe no-fly zone is not going to be as beneficial to you, and you don't need, you could allocate those points elsewhere. That's, you know, kind of where we have some of these bronze tiers. I mean, the TFL fatigue, again, that's kind of sliders based, depending on how you guys have that running. You have more schematic RPO no, like if you're going up against Lamar Jackson twice a year, there's going to be a lot of value that. If you're going up against in the division where you don't have dual threat quarterbacks, maybe there's not going to be a whole lot of value in that. We have load the box, which, you know, I just think in terms of value, just getting a tackle pursuit, hit power, and play rec boost to corners and safeties, not nearly as impactful as, say, getting +4 block shed and tackle on our edge rushers and defensive tackles. And the saying here goes for fool me never. Depending on your scheme that you're running, and if you're going up against a lot of play action passes and you're getting frustrated, this would be very beneficial to you. Personally, you know, when I'm playing, you know, it's not, I don't pull my, well, I got a buzz cut, but I don't pull my hair out over play action passes a whole lot. Therefore, I didn't think there was a lot of value in fool me never. I was to just say, hey, just get and buy tier 4 for every single ability. Well, if you keep playing well, you're going to get the natural in-game abilities to get those, but I'm more so worried about spending your stat points. And I wouldn't want to just tier 4 everything, because you are still going to want to diversify. I mean, again, I probably wouldn't prioritize the defensive coordinator too much unless you want to double up on the abilities. But offensive coordinator, there's going to be value based off of his level to get some boost to your offense. There's going to be value in investing in your trainer depending on the sliders that you're running, be it wear and tear, be it injury and injury recovery and injury management. So there's other upgrades here that I don't think you necessarily have to go all the way down to tier 4 because it does get expensive. So we're going to look at aerial suppression. So for the first 3 tiers, you get an increase of man coverage on blitz plays, zone coverage on blitz plays, and a reduced chance blitzers can be identified pre-snap. That one there, you may actually only be able to get away with getting the first 2 upgrades. Always watching, we get increased pursuit from defenders with QB spy assignment, increased pursuit from defenders when the quarterback leaves the pocket. A lot more value there. And increased pressure effects on quarterbacks outside the pocket. You get the first 3 tiers in cover 2 guru. Again, kind of schematic if you're not running a lot of cover 2, but you're going to get increased zone coverage for corners and safeties while running cover 2, as well as increased break on the ball for corners while running a cover 2 play. Very similarly, you're going to get cover 4 guru, which gives you pretty much the same thing, increased zone coverage for DBs when running cover 4, as well as break on the ball for corners while running cover 4. Inside stuff, where I'm going to go with the first 3 abilities, which gives you an increased ability to disengage from run blocks on inside runs, increased ability to shed run blocks on inside runs, as well as significantly increased chance of successful tackles from DL inside of inside run plays. Tier 4 is not bad there either, which gives you the linebacker boost, but again, kind of trying to budget points now at this point of the build. I went for the first 2 tiers in sideline to sideline, which is going to increase the ability to disengage from run blocks on outside run plays, as well as increase the ability to shed run blocks on outside run plays. I think now we go into player development. I would max out all 4 tiers of camp counselor to be utilized in your training camp. It's going to give you additional 100 rookie snaps for gold medals in training camp, which is going to help unlock those dev traits on those hidden dev rookies. You're going to get a 2 and a 4 times XP boost on training camp minigames, and in tier 4, you're going to get a 5% boost at dev trait upgrade chances in training camp minigames. You're always going to want that. I'm going for the first 3 tiers. You could go 4-4, but the first 3 tiers of training camp XP boost, so we're getting 10% on corners, D-line, linebackers, and safeties. Into scouting, we're going to go base 2% and just kind of keep as is on D tackles, on linebackers, on archetype unlock, and for corners. I would still say rule of thumb, corner, linebacker, and D tackle are the easier positions to kind of blind scout with limited information to draft a really, really good player. And in my personal opinion, over my last couple rebuilds, safeties and edges have been the 2 that you really want as much information as you possibly can get. They tend to be trickier to draft. So any assist I can get on those 2 very difficult defensive positions is going to be the better. And we're also going to get all the way down to tier 4 on talent evaluator, which will give us up to a 10% reduction on talent range unlock while scouting. So with this build, we still have, again, for this example of as soon as we hit level 50, we still have almost 500 points available. this is where I would probably suggest start spending on offensive coordinator. Hopefully you have a good offensive coordinator. Maybe at this point you fire and try to get the highest level offensive coordinator on the open market. But I would go OC and trainer and probably spend the rest of my remaining points there. But there's also some abilities that I ignored that will potentially be more important to your franchise mode based upon, I think in particular, hone in on your divisional opponents, hone in on your conference. Maybe you're going and you're not in the Ravens division, but you keep seeing the Ravens in the playoffs. Maybe you've lost to the Ravens twice in the AFC Championship game. You were sick and tired of Lamar Jackson just running all over you. Well, then you're going to need, maybe some of these other abilities. So it's very fluid. There's going to be different play styles attached to this, but I think rule of thumb, kind of following this guideline as your baseline for a defensive genius build is going to give you the best chance to have the best defensive head coach possible in Madden 26. So that'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As I said at the beginning, I've already done an offensive guru video, and probably tomorrow I will drop the talent wizard video, which from a rebuild standpoint may be the funnest one of them all. I don't know. I don't know necessarily which of the three I would prefer. I'm leaning probably towards the talent wizard, but let me know what you guys think. Are you going to be choosing a defensive genius for your head coach build, or are you going to be looking more so at the offensive guru or the talent wizard? Let me know in the comment section below. If it is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. We're getting very close to 180,000 subscribers here on the channel. Honestly, by the time this video came out, maybe we've already hit that. And if we do, thank you guys very much. Year 15 for old C4 on YouTube. So why not this year? Hit the old proverbial rocket strapped to the back. Sky is the limit. Thank you for all the love and support. And until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out, love ya, have a good one.